Hey guys, I'm back, and this week I've blasted out Kevin Smith's Askewniverse films, Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and Clerks 2. So I figured I'd give my lowdown on these movies and what I thought because, well, I'm sure a lot of people want to know what I thought. Now, we're going to start with Clerks, obviously, because that's where it started, even though it wasn't the first movie I watched, but we'll get to that later. Well, Clerks is just, it's just very, very simple. It's kind of ingeniously simple, really, because it's just two guys in a convenience store hanging out. Like, that could be like a sitcom, but they made it into a whole movie instead. And I thought it was a pretty enjoyable, pretty entertaining movie, because, it's just pretty much the worst day down to his life, and every single customer that came into that store was a douchebag. And it was just, I don't know why. Normally I don't like movies like that. Normally I don't like movies where people are just like absolute jerks. And like there's just one innocent guy who just gets all the blunt of everything. But for some reason Clerks made it entertaining and watchable. And I don't know, there's a lot of pretty fun, clever dialogue. The Star Wars conversation, I don't know if it has ever been topped. And I don't know, I just thought it was very simple, very entertaining, and not much to say on there. 8 out of 10 for Clerks. Next up is Mallrats, and this was kind of like a big. This movie was like a blast from the past because it just reminded me of all the great fun John Hughes movies. It was kind of like Ferris Bueller, and there's a couple movies actually. But it's just the whole movie just in a mall, and it was just pretty brilliant. It was just like an absolute flashback to the 80s. It just recaptured that moment of just being young and hanging out at the mall, and I really appreciated that. And the characters were likable, and it had a great conclusion. It was like when everything just came to a head, and I loved that. I loved how it's pretty unpredictable. It was one of those anything can happen movies, and it was just balls to the wall and the comedy. And Jay and Silent Bob were awesome, but more on that later. 8 out of 10 from Mallrats. I liked that movie a lot. Next up was Chasing Amy. And this one was this is probably the most different of all Kevin Smith, all of the Askew films, because it's definitely one of the more serious ones. Like it's like the first half is like kind of sort of, well, the first third I'd say is more like a casual, relaxed comedy, and then it also gets very serious and very like into kind of like a chick flick. But it's a chick flick guys can enjoy, and then at the end it's just. Yeah, it's very emotional and very like, yeah, it has a downer ending. I'm sure everyone and their dog is talking about the downer ending, so I'm probably not spoiling anything here. But it's still a really good movie, and I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of Silver Linings Playbook, in that it wasn't afraid to go to where the story needed to go. And like Kevin Smith, the script, which I instantly have. I just acquired it, I thought was you didn't know where it was going to end up. And, which I really appreciate. I'd rather have a movie like that when in a movie you can actually call everything that's going to happen, like The Watch. Or A Good Day to Die Hard, which was, ugh. And it was just, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think it's one of the better Kevin Smith films. Like, probably when it comes to just flat out good filmmaking, it's probably going to be one of his best films, or if not the best. But 9 out of 10 for Chasing Amy. I like that one a lot. What's next? Dogma. That's a movie that takes a lot of getting used to. It kind of takes it's kind of like Fight Club. It takes the first half of the movie to get adjusted to this crazy world and everything. But once you do, it's really enjoyable and really entertaining. I thought Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were pretty enjoyable and pretty entertaining. Linda Fiorentino, I never noticed this before, but she's not a very good actress, and at least she wasn't in this movie. I didn't really mind her that much in other movies, but in this one she was just, well. And I kind of found it really amazing that you go from two guys working in a convenience store to a movie about God and faith and angels and the apocalypse, and it was just, yeah, only Kevin Smith could have pulled that off. But yeah, you have to really get used to it. You have to really give it a chance. It's definitely going to divide a lot of people. I'm sure 99.9% of people saw the movie like, oh, this is disgusting. Can't believe they actually greenlighted this. But like I said, it does take getting used to, and once you do, it's entertaining. I wouldn't say it's the best Kevin Smith movie, but in terms of scale, it's the biggest. And it was entertaining, so I give it a 7 out of 10 for Dogma. Next up was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This is actually the first USQ film I watched, and I know everyone's gonna blast me for that. But this was probably my favorite out of all of them, because I thought, one thing I saw first, so I had a little partial to it for that reason. I think it just had the most amount of just non-stop humor, and it was so entertaining, so fun, and Jay and Silent Bob, they absolutely carried the film, and the jokes at Hollywood's expense were pretty funny, and I love the cameos from all the other USQ people. Even before I haven't seen it, when I just saw that Jay and Silent Bob on its own, I appreciate the cameos, and it made sense to me. So it doesn't take you out of the movie. Now, I watched it last night after having seen all the other movies, and I gotta sneeze. Oh, I'm wrong. I didn't have to sneeze. Anyway, I watched Jay and Silent Bob again after having seen all the other USQ films. Now it makes more sense and everything. But it doesn't detract from the movie. It's actually pretty entertaining. So I actually give that one a 10 out of 10. Because I think that's just... you're always having a smile on your face the whole movie. It's one of those movies like almost every single joke works. So it's a perfect comedy, which is different from a perfect movie. In a perfect comedy, you have to get a laugh at like every single joke for me. Something like Napoleon Dynamite or She's Out of My League, or Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So that's why I give Jay and Silent Bob a 10. And then there's Clerks 2, which I just watched recently, and that I think was probably one of the better Kevin Smith movies. That was actually pretty entertaining because it kind of like a combination of all the best elements of all the other Kevin Smith movies. It has the simplicity of Mallrats, the great dialogue from Clerks, and it has the grand comedic scale of Jay and Silent Bob. But most importantly, it has a heart of Chasing Amy. And I was impressed at how much heart was in this movie. Especially toward the end, it didn't get sappy, but it got really emotionally resonant, and it was memorable. It was a very memorable movie. And the ending of the movie is just so satisfying. It's just so really great, satisfying. You feel good at the end of this movie, and I love that. And it's also hysterically funny, and they do go to pretty extreme places with the comedy, which I appreciate, because that's what we've come to expect from Kevin Smith. I think Clerks 2 actually might be Smith's best movie, because Chasing Amy was, I lose a couple points for Chasing Amy because it got really serious really fast and didn't really lighten up a whole lot. Clerks 2 has an even balance of like emotional scenes and a huge lambasting comedy, and I really appreciate that. So 9 out of 10 for Clerks 2. So that's my take on the Askewniverse films, and now I can go see Clerks 3 in theaters. Hopefully there'll be something like that at Comic-Con this year. Hopefully I'll get to meet some USQ alumni. On that note, Friends 227 out.